Today, I know last week or last video I made some hamburgers and I used some sourdough bread. Today I'm going to show you how to make that bread. I was always intimidated to make sourdough bread. I always make regular bread, but the sourdough always intimidated me. But it's really simple. It's only got 3 ingredients: flour, water, salt, and sourdough starter, which is flour and water. So a lot of people don't want to do it because they don't want to make the starter or whatever. All you have to do to get the starter is go to any baker, go to Kroger or the local bakery, and ask them, because they make so much of it, it multiplies and grows, so you end up having to throw it out. So they're happy to give you some. And then after that, it's real easy to maintain it. I will talk about that in another video, but it's very easy. So I'm just going to show you real quick how to make this bread. It's so simple, and there's a couple of steps that I've figured out. Actually, my daughter figured out a couple steps of how to do it, and it's so simple. Anyway, I'm going to start. This is the flour. I keep the flour in the freezer to keep it more fresh, and so I take it out early to let it get to room temperature. That's important. You have to do that step. If you don't do that step, then it won't rise properly. So anyway, this flour has been sitting out for 2 or 3 hours to cool down or warm up to room temperature. I put the salt in it already. This is 800 grams of flour, and this is bread flour. Normally I use all-purpose flour, but today I'm going to try it with bread flour. Anyway, so this is 800 grams of flour and 10 grams of salt. And now I'm going to add my sourdough starter. You want to get it all. You want to get it all because most of this recipe is pretty forgiving, but the ingredients are not, as far as, so you have to do exact amounts. This is 320 grams of sourdough starter, and what you put in the bowl, you want to make sure you get it all into the mixer. So, because if you don't, then you won't have the right ingredients, right amount of them. Anyway, so there's my starter. Now I'm going to add water. This is 460 milliliters of water. You don't have to. You don't have to have a mixer. You can mix this by hand, but it is much easier to do it on the mixer. I normally put it on slow at first, let it get everything incorporated together, and then I'll turn it really fast. Sometimes you have to scrape the sides, but not a whole lot. Usually you can walk them all. This is sticky dough. It looks like it's got little lumps in it, and it does. And that's what you're going to mix it until those are not there, or it's much less. You can look at the dough and you can see the difference. It's been going about 12 minutes, I would say, and you can see a big difference in the dough. This is a sticky dough, so when you handle it, I have a couple tricks that I've learned. When you handle this dough, and I'll show you Some of the other people will tell you don't put any more flour than you have to, and I agree, don't put any more flour than you have to, but put as much as you need to, because this flour is going to stick to everything. So flour your board here, flour well and have more ready. I like to put a little more, have it ready, because you do need it. It's going to stick to everything, and if you don't, you will have a hard time. And also, I use a little olive oil because I like the flavor of olive oil. And so if it gets in the bread a little bit, it doesn't hurt a thing. So I think we're ready. Take out, I usually scrape it off the hook. Have to be patient with it, it will come off. And sometimes you have a little left on the bowl. Okay. Now I work the dough just a little, not much. It's already worked pretty good. I'm more concerned with shaping it, getting it to a wow, look at that. And it really comes out nice. It's a really nice dough. Very pliable here, and it's very good dough. So anyway, work it just a little bit. You don't have to do much to it. The main thing I'm trying to do is get it uniform to where when I cut it, I can cut it in half. It's not an exact thing, so it doesn't have to be exact half. If you want to get a tape measure or measure it, go ahead. But I'm pretty good at getting it in half. If one is a little bigger, it's not that big a deal. And then you take that one and put a little more flour because you might need it. You might need a little more oil on your hands. Like I said, don't use any more flour than you have to. Use as much as you need. And this is pretty general here because I'm not shaping it the final shape yet. So I'm going to take it from there. 2 bowls here. Put a little olive oil in each one. Again, I use olive oil. You could use another oil, a flavorless oil if you would like. And just coat your bowl. You can take your bread, your dough. Take this one, get and shape it just a little. Not important because we're going to come back and shape it later. Take it in there. Now the secret that my daughter came up with, and I always had trouble with the temperature for rising. Rising is important. In fact, it's the most important part. If you don't get the rise right, then nothing else works. And in order to do that, you have to have a steady, warm temperature. And so what my daughter came up with, everybody has a little space heater. You need one that has a thermostat on it. Put it in a small room in your house. So I use my closet. You can use just any small room. Put the space heater in there. I set mine at 70 degrees. You can set it, I would say the lowest would be 65, but 70 seems to work pretty good. So when they're talking about rising for 3 to 4 hours, these are just guidelines. Because when you look at you're going to look at your bread, you're going to look at your dough, that's going to tell you when the rise is right, and it's going to be about double. If it takes 3 hours, take it out then. If it takes 4 hours, take it out then. But you want it to rise to about double. You're going to feel it, and it's going to feel sort of puffy. This right now doesn't because it's fresh. I just made it. But it's going to feel a little bit puffy. But you don't want it to where if you touch it, it collapses. That's when you know you've gone too much. So anyway, now I'm going to put it in a warm room. I'm going to put it in my closet with the space heater set at 70 degrees, and I'm going to wait 3 hours and look at it. If it's good, then I'll take it out then. Probably most likely around 3.5 hours. And I'm going to cover it with a light cloth. So. Okay, now it's been about 3.5 hours. My bread, or my dough, has been rising in my closet, and I've had the heater on it, and it looks like it's about doubled in size. And that's the main thing you're looking for when you're rising it. It's not, when you read the recipe, it says 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for the rise. And I'll show you in a minute when I get them over here. But first, I want to prepare. And these are little rising bowls. They use for rising. You don't have to use these. I do use these, but you don't have to. They do work nice, and they make it look really nice. Sprinkle your flour in. You have to always flour them up really, really well. And I'm going to let them do the second rise in here. But it just gives it a shape to your bread. It just makes it look nice. You'll see it later when I finish. But you have to flour them really good or they'll stick. Your dough will stick to them. This one, I like this one actually better because it makes a better shape of the bread. Not a better shape for looking at, but a better shape for actually using. The breads are shaped in the shape of a sandwich. You will see so I have those ready. Sprinkle a little flour on here. Again, don't use any more flour than you have to, but use enough. If you don't use enough, you're going to be sticking all to the bread. Anyway, let me get the breads and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's one. You can see how it's probably double the size, if not more. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take it out of here. I'm not going to do much to it, except mainly knock the air out. It has a little air. It has a little air in it. And if you don't, it's just going to have holes too big in the bread, bigger than what you want. So it's not about kneading it at this point. It's about just shaping it, taking it out of here. I'm going to take it. Basically, I'm just going to pull it, knock the air out of it, pull it a couple times, pull it over, pull it over, pull it over. And I'm just mainly concerned like pockets like that of air, to get those out. And then I'm going to get the air out of it, pull it over, pull it and put it here, put it here, and then I'm going to take it, flip it over, and I'm just going to work it like this. Work like this. I'm pulling it toward me and turning it, pulling it toward me and turning, pulling it toward me. And what I'm doing, I'm sealing up the bottom to where the bottom connects. And I'm stretching the top. What's the top stretch? The top is stretching, pulling toward me. And the bottom is sealing up. So, I'm going to take it from there and put it upside down. And up. That's not good. I need to do it again. I'll take it back out. You see how that opened up? You don't want that. So I'm going to take it and do it some more until that seals up nice underneath. Because if not, you'll have a big hole. It's no big deal. You just have to make sure you fix it.